I got it. You join? Oh, and Alan G is in there. Good call, Yigal. Oh, always.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Today's Daf Yomi Zion. So, Shannon, you got yours muted. All right, perfect. No, not yet.
Yeah, 1 second. Hold on.
Anyway, just find out.
All right. So we left off. I'm sorry.
You didn't cut.
No, I'm good. Thank you. So we left off by the two dots by taking. So JC Aimer Hatachta Nesan Atika. So we had him. Oh, okay. So we had him Achloikas yesterday. Regarding he had a two flats. It was owned by the guy at the bottom, and all of a sudden there's an issue with the floor in between them. So the Tanakama says Kuf Yud Zayin. The Tanakama says that the landlord has to go ahead and fix it, and the guy and the Rabbi Yossi says no. So when it comes to the what's it called, the plaster, that has to be done by the upper guy. That was Rabbi Yossi said. That was the Mishnah. So right, the one does the tikra, and then the other one does the maziva. Right, Elyon is a maziva. So my tikra. First of all, what is this tikra that you speak of? So different materials. So my tikra, right, like reed mats, and the satini. I'm Rabbi Shimon Lakish, and satini says in the name of Rabbi Shimon Lakish. That was his name. Luchim shel. So it says lachim, like boards, wood, a little stronger. Likely it's not machlekes markiasra. Each one did what they did in their in their locale. And Hanu Beit Shrei, there was two people. One person was upstairs, one person was downstairs, and Ifchis Maziva, and then the plaster went out. When the guy upstairs would wash his hands, so the water would leak down and cause damage downstairs. So who has to go ahead and fix it? So Rabbi Chia bar Abba Amar Ha'elyon Misakin. Rabbi Chia bar Abba says the guy upstairs got to do it. And Rabbi Chia bar Rabbi Yossi Amar Hatachta Misakin. No, the guy downstairs has to go ahead, and if he doesn't want to get wet, he's got to go ahead and fix the ceiling. The simon, and the way to remember this is V'Yosef Harid Mitzrayma, right? Then Yosef went down, right, Mitzrayma, and the second opinion was Rabbi Lloyd named Rabbi Chia bar Yossi, right, Yossi and Yosef. Hori Mitzrayma went down. So therefore, just a way to remember which one says the upstairs, which one's downstairs, is remember Yosef Hori Mitzrayma, that the one who said, who was the son of Rabbi Yossi, he says down. So Lema, Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Rabbi Lloyd, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbanan Kamiflagi. Let's say that this machlokes over here, is it upon the person upstairs or downstairs? Is it the same machlokes? Sure. Is it the same machlokes as our Mishnah, which also has an argument as to who's responsible for the plaster? So Laman Damar Aliyah Masake, the one who says the upstairs Masake Alamazi. So the one who says to go ahead and fix upstairs, he says, why the one upstairs one? Because it's upon the mazik, the damager. If your water is causing damage, then you got to go ahead and fix the plaster, right? What says the bottom one? Misake savar al hanizak minamazik, right? No, it's on the one who it's the one who's getting damaged. You don't want to get damaged, then get a better ceiling.
What about the supporting system? I mean,
So right. So the supporting system is in right now. The supporting system is in. It's just this plaster, right?
Plaster.
So we're soon going to have a new right. So we're soon going to have a new understanding of that. But right now it's livable. But when he washes with water, then it causes damage. So God says, "I but he's Rabbi Yossi, Rabban Alina Nizikin Pligi." Are you telling me that Rabbi Yossi and Rabban are arguing as to whose obligation is to go ahead when it comes to Nizikin? Well, we heard actually know the opposite. That's how we learned in the Mishnah. Marchikin Aseilan Minabor Esrim B'Chamesh Ama Uvacharub Sikma Chamishim Ama Mina. All right. So it says one who goes ahead, and let's say you get two people next door to each other. One guy's got a tree, the other one guy's got a pit that holds water. Now the problem with the tree is that it grows underground. You got roots, and the roots spread out, and the roots, and it can cause damage to the pit, and therefore So the guy with the tree is causing the damage. So whose responsibility is to move away? You don't want your pit damaged, move it away. Or your tree is damaging my pit, move your tree away. So it says there, you distance the tree from the bore 25 amos. That's a good one. And a carob tree and a sycamore tree was a larger roots. That's 50 amos. Whether it's higher up or it's the same level. And im habor kadam, if the pit is first, kite says, then you know what? You put your tree afterwards. Kite says, and then here's the money for your tree, because this is here first. And im ha'ilon kadam, but if the tree was first, lo yikos, then you go ahead. You don't go ahead and cut it down. Something zekadam. If you don't know which one's first, so lo yikos, then you don't cut it down. So that was the rabbanim. And Rabbi Yosi Aimer, afal pisha porko demes liilon lo yikos. Even if the pit was first, and I grew my tree next to your pit in my property, lo yikos, you don't have a right to force me to cut it down. In other words, I'm like, says Rabbi Yosi, you're not forced to do it, right? You don't want to be damaged. Don't put it by my border, but I'm allowed to go ahead and use my yard for what I want, and you go ahead and use your yard for what you want. You don't want to be damaged? Move your pit. You don't want rainwater on your head? Fix your ceiling, right? So, in order, according to this, it's opposite of our Mishnah.
No, but when you put the pit, the roots did not reach them yet. So,
right,
the roots.
But since he was chayv for b'sad shalo, so therefore that was the svar with it. But it's a valid point you're making.
There's a more that says you have your outside, the air above it is yours, and the ground below it is yours. But it's exactly the same.
Right. So what do you say? So you extend it over.
Right.
So therefore it should be you're causing damage. Right. So that would disagree with Rabbi Yosi. Right. So you have to understand. Right. So you have to the Gemara's over there, right? There's where's this Gemara? So I think in Babasra, I think. Where's Dalid? I can't find it. All right. Yeah, here. Yeah.
It's also the same in American law.
Right. You have the rights. Right. Yeah. So how do I find it? There's Gemara in. There's Beis Gimel. Yeah, so go around Babasra. We'll get there. So Alma, but what do you see? Pashtas. But you said al nizak laharchik asasmo. Right, you don't want to be damaged on nizak. But it's something al mazik laharchik asasmo. Elo yikol lememor. You want to say like this? Pligi bepluksa the Rabbi Yosef Rabbanan. Say actually that their machlokas over there. When it came to the guy washing water and dripping on the head, that's the same machlokas over here. In other words, yes, they do hold it, but they actually hold the opposite too. And therefore, that would be the machlokas of, that's, our Mishnah has nothing to do with that. In other words, who has to rebuild it? We'll soon see why. But over there, the case of the water, yes, you can say that was the same machlokas as those time. The Hasan Kamiflagi, that's the machlokas over there. The Rabbi Yosef Rabbanan, the Hacha b'may pligi. Okay, but what are Rabbi Yosef Rabbanan, our Mishnah? What are they arguing about? In other words, who's responsible to go ahead and do it? But Chayzik Tikra Kamiflagi. What is the purpose? You guys asked us for what, like the strength of the structure of the Tikra. Whose responsibility is that? Rabbanan Savi Maziva.
The ceiling.
Right. So but the strength of that is Sarbanan Sari Maziva. What's the point of the Zuki Tikra? In other words, that one says that the plaster is there to strengthen the ceiling.
Right.
Therefore, the strength of the ceiling, it's on you. Zuki Tikra al Takdon. And therefore, right, Zuki Tikra, Zuki Tikra al Takdon. Right, and therefore that's on the lower guy. For a strong ceiling, he has to have a supporting structure. By Lachzuke. But Rabbi Yosi says no. Ma'aziva shviya gumos who right? Shviya gumos. No, that's to smoothen the floor. You put the plaster down in order to have smooth floor upstairs. So who's the responsibility? Is that's the upstairs guy. So therefore, Rabbi Yosi, it's not a question of causing damage to the downstairs because no damage here. We're talking about what is the purpose of the plaster? Is the purpose of the plaster to strengthen the ceiling, right? Or is the purpose of the plaster to have smooth floors? And that was the machlokes there. So the Gemara says, is this so? Omar Rav Ashi, Kavina Bey Rav Huna Havi Amrinan, might the Rabbi Yosi begire delay, right? When one's own arrows. So in the case of the water, even though you can say that if you don't want to be damaged, you got to fix yourself. But if it's direct damage, if I'm pouring water and it falls on your head, So that's direct damage. Those are my arrows. Even Rabbi Yossi would agree that it's not an nizak to prevent himself. You're directly damaging me. So my answer is no. The pasuk nafli. It means that's not direct. That it could go in one area and it spreads throughout another area, and therefore it's not direct. It could be a couple hours later when it gets through the walls, but therefore that's not considered to be direct arrows coming to go ahead and damage. The water does not fall directly.
The case in the Mishnah was there was
Nothing to do with water. It was just if the ceiling and the floor, the plaster went out, who has to go ahead and fix the plaster? So it ends up being, what is the purpose of the plaster? Is it really for the bottom one, or is it really for the top one? Who's the one who benefits from it?
The downstairs guy is deaf. Then it has to be the upstairs.
That was about smooth. It was about noise. So Zak the Mishnah, Habayis Valiyah Shel Shnayim. Nine Mishnah. Two people, they own a duplex. Shel Shnayim, each one. Shenaflu. That fell down. So Amar Baliyah nice. So the guy upstairs says, "Okay, I had a second floor apartment before. Go build your first floor, and I'm going to go ahead and build on top." Right? The Balabais leave nice. Who ain't a right set? And the guy doesn't want to leave nice. Hooray, Baliyah. So what does the upstairs neighbor do? Right? Bainas Habayis. He goes ahead and he builds the first floor of a Darbasoicha, and he goes ahead and he lives over there on the first floor. Until he basically pays him for building the first guy's, right? Until he pays him to do that the bottom, and then he builds himself for upstairs because he's been reimbursed. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, because if you go ahead and you build one and you live in the guy's apartment, you're being mahana from someone else's money, because eventually he's going to go ahead and pay you back, and you're living there for free. Ella, rather, what should the upstairs neighbor do? Upstairs neighbor should go build both, first floor, second floor, because even go ahead and roof the top one, and then now you can go ahead and sit downstairs until he pays you for your reimbursement. Why? Because over here, over here says Rabbi Yehuda, you're not benefiting from the downstairs guy. Why are you not benefiting from the downstairs guy? Because you don't benefit because you have the apartment upstairs, right? You just happen to live downstairs, and you're going to live there until he pays you for it. And I'm not benefiting from it because I can just live upstairs. But in the other case, there's only one dwelling unit that I built that I am benefiting at if you go ahead and pay me back. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says you cannot go ahead and live down there because you're benefiting from someone else's money. Yeah, he has to. He has to build both, right?
So he's losing.
But right, so he can live there for free, and then once he gets reimbursed, then he goes back upstairs. Yeah.
So you say he doesn't pay rent.
Exactly. Right. And once he pays rent, then he goes upstairs because his rent, he wasn't saving anything. I could have lived upstairs for free because I already built upstairs, so I'm living downstairs for free. I'm not benefiting either way. Zak the Gemara. So I'm Rabbi Yechran. B'shleishim mekamas shanu lanu Rabbi Yehuda aser. So I'm Rabbi Yechran. B'shleishim mekamas shanu lanu Rabbi Yehuda aser le'adam sheyahana b'mamar chavera. Three places we learn. Wow. In three places we learn that Rabbi Yehuda asers for a person to go ahead and be mahana to get benefit from other people's money. Chada, first one is Hadatan. Our Mishnah, right? Our Mishnah just clearly stated, right, that you can't live there downstairs for free if you don't have another dwelling unit. So therefore, you have to build your upstairs, and then you can live downstairs for free. And we have another one. Idach Mahi was another one. Hadnai sense. A person goes ahead and gives wool to a dyer to go ahead and dye. La'adam to go ahead and do it red, but to a shachar and it makes it black, or shachar but to a dome, right? Or he says make it black and it makes it red. He makes it the wrong way. So Rabbi Meir Aimer Naisen lo as demeit simra. He goes ahead and he pays him for the wool. He keeps the wool, right? Because he made the mistake, and I'll give you wool. How much was the raw wool material you gave me? All right, $8. Here's your $8, and then the wool maker, the dyer. Not the wool maker, the dyer keeps the wool. That was the Tanakam. That was Rameir, Tanakam, and Rabbi Huda. Aimer, Ima Shevach, and as Rabbi Huda, Ima Shevach Yisrael is ala Otza, nice and as Eitziav, Ima Otzia Yisrael Shevach, nice and as Shevach. He says, no, you got to give it to the back, and you can benefit from it. However, you got to pay him whichever is less, either his expenses or the improvements, and pay him the lower one. But you see over here that According to Rabbi Yehuda, the guy cannot go ahead and keep it because over there, if you just pay it back, you got free delivery of raw wool material. So therefore, if the dyer keeps it and he just pays for the material, he just got free shipping and handling, and he was free services for purchasing. Vida, and what will be the third one? So the time we learn another mitzvah. It says Misha Paramik says Chayva. A person goes ahead and he takes out a loan and he pays for part of it. So I borrowed money of a loan document. It was $100. I already paid $7. So $30 more. Each leash is a shtaro, and I give it to a third party. I say, hold on to this loan. Look, if I don't pay back the other $30 in the next 2 months, Taylor Star, the guy who's holding the star, will give you the star that says I owe you $100, and you'll be able to basically, get all that. Taylor Star, he gives man. Of course, what happened, right? And he didn't go.
He already repaid partial.
He paid part of it, but it wasn't on the loan document. In other words, it didn't say that, and therefore he'd be able to collect the entire loan, right? And he was going to give it to him, okay, as a gift, or take it, right? Okay, that's my gift, my extra gift. He gives Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi Aimer, Yitain. That says Rabbi Yossi give it. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer lo Yitain. He says don't give it. Why? Because you're going to go ahead and benefit from the other guy's money. You're going to benefit from my money from the star, and therefore that's not right. So the Gemara says, "Amai, who says all these three machlekes, our Mishnah, these two cases, the case of the loan and the case of the dyer, is all a question of whether it's permissible for a person to be to go ahead and get benefit from someone else's money for free, right?" Amai, who says that the machlekes are there? Dilma, each one's different. The reason why you got to go ahead and you can't live downstairs for free is because when the guy reimburses you and he comes into his house, it's all blackened. Where you're cooking there, living there, it gets used. You're ruining the house. So he's going to pay you the money you spent to build it, but he's moving in a house that's 2 years old, right? The stove and oven is already blackened. Inami or the Tola Adam, or the case when I go ahead and give the dyer to go ahead and make a Revetz of the Shachor and it makes it black. What's the reason why he pays the lower amount? Like he doesn't keep it free. Mishum to call Mishana because he changed what he was supposed to do. He made the mistake. As we learn in the Mishnah, call Mishana Yadal Tafkleina. Right? Whoever goes ahead and makes the change or deviates from the plan, he has the lower hand. So therefore, he either only gets reimbursed for his expenses, or he only gets paid the minimal amount of the improvement of the wool. In the case of the loan, Mishabar, the reason why you don't go ahead and give it back is Mitzvah Chayva Nami Hahavi Esmachta. Because over there, that was in the Smachta. In other words, that he said, you know what? He says, because he didn't really mean it. He didn't really mean to give the entire loan. He just thought that it was in 2 months after she'll pay back the $30. So therefore, that's the reason why you don't go ahead and give the loan. It's not because you're getting extra hana from someone else's money. It was just smachta. You never really intended to go ahead and do it. And therefore, we said over there, that's the reason why he doesn't acquire. So Amar Avacha Bar Ada Mishmedula Tachtain Haba Lishnos. Let's say the downstairs guy wants to go ahead and change. He wants to change the brick. I guess when they're building it, or either when they're building it, or let's say he wants to go and they're rebuilding it. I want to use a different type of brick. Lishnos bigavil if it's right the uncut, larger stones, stronger stones for the downstairs. Now remember, the upstairs guy benefits from a stronger downstairs. The downstairs guy benefits from a lighter upstairs. So we're going to have an entire list. It's going to be flip-flop between upstairs and downstairs. The downstairs guy benefits when the upstairs is lighter. It's not as heavy on his house, right? And the upstairs guy benefits from the downstairs guy being very strong structure. So if he says is big field, if he says go ahead and use the stronger stones and shemilo, because but however the cut stones ain't shemilo, we don't go ahead and listen to them. The kvisit, if the guy says, I'm gonna do double half bricks, which is actually stronger than a full brick. So because you put the mortar materials, so kvisit shemilo, so you can use the double half bricks and but just single bricks ain't shemilo. If you go ahead, I want to go ahead and use cedar, which is stronger than shemilo. The sigma, I want to go ahead and rebuild it. When they're rebuilding it, he uses a weaker wood. So the sigma ain't shemilo. We do not listen to the bottom downstairs. If the guy downstairs says, you know what, I want to have less windows, then Shemilo, he's allowed to go ahead and make windows. But he wants more windows, not a strong structure. Ain't Shemilo. We do not listen to him. Like Bia, I can make it taller. I want to make the downstairs taller, higher ceilings. Ain't Shemilo, because the guy upstairs has to walk even higher up. And Lamai, but I want to make it shorter, then Shemilo, then we do listen to him. And Elyon, now we're gonna flip everything around. Now Elyon Shabalishna, so okay, they're gonna go ahead and the house fell down, they're rebuilding it, and the guy who lives upstairs says, you know what, I want to do some changes to the construction. So Elyon Shabalishna is the guzes. If he wants to go ahead and use the guzes, right, the single uncut bricks, those are lighter than Shemi. The cut ones are Shemi. However, big field, but the raw ones, the ones that were not cut. Ain't Shemalo, we don't listen because those are heavier. Low. The kfisin, the wider the double halves, ain't Shemalo. We do not put the double halves on top to replace singles. But Levanim, however, to take singles instead of double halves, then Shemalo upstairs. But Razi want to use the heavier cedar upstairs. Ain't Shemalo, we do not listen to them. However, but the sycamore, which is lighter, Shemalo, we do listen to them. The rabbis bechalonis, I want to increase the amount of windows, which will make my construction lighter than Shemalo. We listen to them. Lamait, but I want to have less windows, make it more brick. Ain't Shemilo, we do not go ahead and listen to him. Like Bia, I want to go ahead and make it taller, which would make it less sturdy. Ain't Shemalo. However, Lamait, I don't want the upstairs so tall. Then Shemilo, we listen to him. Now, what about this? Ain't loy lezev lo lezev. All right, so the house blows down. They didn't have insurance. Now they got land, and neither one can go ahead and build it. So they said, you know what? The guy who lives downstairs says, I live downstairs. It's my house, right? So I'll, I want to sell the land. So Tanya, Rabbi Nosson, Oimer, just skip the parentheses. Tachtay naitel shnei chalaki va'elyon shlish. The upstairs guy, the downstairs guy, whose house is down there, pays. So let's say they sell for $100,000. The downstairs guy gets the downstairs guy gets 66,000, right? 66,000. The other guy gets 33,000, right? So that's how he says. So that's who owns the land. How gets third, right? 66-33, right? That was an easier way. Thank you. And others say. No, the downstairs guys, he gets 75,000. The upstairs guys gets 25,000. So Amar Rabbi, no put Rabbi Nosson. You actually take Rabbi Nosson's teaching in your hand. The Dainahu, the V'nachis Ukma Dina, right? He is a Dayan, and he gets to the depth of the law. And Kasaver Hama Mapsi Aliyah bias. So if I have a house, let's say that is worth $99,000, right? A regular one-story house, and someone builds a house on top, right? Now, my house will not last as long, right? My house is now, there's weight on it. Normally it would last 100 years. Now it's going to last only 66 years. So therefore, the upper floor, so you see that the value, it goes down a third. So since the upstairs reduces my value of a third, so therefore, right now, therefore he has a third of the land. I will stop here at the Mishnah. And so that's the Shem. We'll continue here tomorrow. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow.